Thank you for waiting.
My question is about New York City. I know it's always a joke that we want to take New York City and create its own state or whatever, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. But my question is, how could we do that, or do something very similar so that we can let New York State take care of itself and be its own little state, and we, be New York State.
Get rid of this.
It's interesting because back, of course, back in the mid-1970s, you may remember the fiscal crisis. If you're old enough, I remember it. Upstate actually bailed out New York City. Now, New York City has been a cash cow for the state coffers for the past several years because of Wall Street, but I think that those days are over.
They're over.
They're over.
With the net.
Exactly. And you see all these crazy policies that are anti-economy, anti-upstate come out of New York City, and that's what we're battling against right now. There actually was a bill that was introduced by Senator Robach out of the Rochester area this past year, and basically what it would do is would allow for a public referendum to see if there could be a separation between New York City and upstate. And that's in committee right now. But as I travel around the state, I'm hearing more and more people who are very, very upset, concerned about the influence from New York City. And that's what we're facing right now. New York City is controlling every element of state government. They control the governor's office, they control the state assembly, and they have for many years. And now they control the Senate. And so there's no balance there. And we need to have balance, checks and balances. We need to have fairness in government. And right now we don't see that. So we're trying to change that. But that's one of the ideas that's out there is this piece of legislation.
Just saw them off and let them go to sea. As it's obvious we're actually in a situation here where they outnumber us. And they have all the power. And we're up here just basically at their mercy. They can do whatever they want.
Well, we're hoping that we can change that this fall. There's big elections coming up this fall, and we're hoping that we can get some more balance back into the state. We're not saying upstate should control everything, but upstate should have a voice, and that's what I'm fighting for right now. But we keep bringing up amendments to change some of the foolish stuff that they're doing, or we bring up amendments to get upstate's needs taken care of. And you know what, Reed, they're failing by one vote, just one vote.
It's that close.
It's that close.
The Senate is operated by one vote extra. And again, that creates in itself when they were senators switching sides at one point, it was a madness again.
Well, it was, but that really was to try to stop what they were doing because, you saw the out-of-control taxes and spending. I mean, how in a recession, why would you increase taxes by $11 billion?
20% increase in our state taxes, and we were the highest taxed state in the United States.
Exactly.
And how do you, and for that very reason, corporations and citizens were fleeing New York State. So how do you settle things? 20% higher taxes.
Exactly.
So that's going to have any good.
And they're looking to increase taxes again this year. And the problem is, last year, not only did they increase taxes, but they increased spending 7 times the rate of inflation by $13 billion. Well, guess what?
Boggles the mind.
In the middle of the year, they had a $3 billion deficit, and now they have over a $9 to $10 billion deficit. Wow, that equals about $13 billion, doesn't it? I mean, so it shows that it just totally bad policy that they're pushing through, and we're trying to stop.
Well, you mentioned the governor has been sealing up some of the funding. What's he doing with it? Is he saving it for a trip to Hawaii or something? All that money?
I think he thinks it's a good leverage. It's kind of a hammer that he can use to try to get the budget passed, but it doesn't work because these guys from New York City don't care if the upstate roads and bridges don't get fixed. And so they're just continuing to stall and hold out for what they want. And, so you have that issue. We have SUNY construction funds are being held. And we have, again, that equates into jobs because there are a lot of construction monies that were set to go. Mm-hmm. Now people are being late. I talked to a poor man the other day. He approached me. I was home for the weekend from Albany. And he said, I'm losing my job. And you multiply that by thousands across the state. And it's just plain wrong. Here we are in a time of economic strife. We should be doing everything that we can to build the economy, give people jobs, and get things moving again. And instead they're doing just the opposite. So it shows again what we're dealing with and why it's so frustrating.
Yes, and the layoff factor is there. They are laying off state employees, which is really hurting. Of course, the figures came out yesterday. The national unemployment is just a winkle short of 10%.
It's huge.
Of the people that they count. But they don't count another 7%. So we
That's
actually
right.
have almost 1 out of 5 citizens in the United States who do not have a job and would like one.
That's right.
Unbelievable.
And so how do you get out of a recession? You don't tax your way out of it. You don't spend your way out of it. You don't borrow your way out of it. You grow your way out of it, and you put in place good policies that are going to focus on the economy and grow the economy. And these people who are in leadership positions right now don't understand that.
Yeah, downstairs. Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting for us. Hello? You didn't wait, did you? Hold on. I think we're getting them back. There you go. Good morning. Oh, keep talking. Okay. So,
Okay.
tell me, as you're in your position, now you do hold a couple of nice positions. You're in the committees. What are
Right.
your committees now?
I'm ranking member of the Agriculture Committee.
Yeah, you're in charge there.
Yes. And also I'm on the Insurance Committee, the Transportation Committee, the Housing Committee, the Health Committee, which is a very interesting committee too. I'm also co-chair of the Administration Regulations Review Commission, which we look at all the crazy red tape in New York State and try to get rid of it. Unfortunately, New York City is blocking a lot of that right now. But there's been a lot of regulations that have come out that people are very concerned about. And as a result, we try to have a public voice and try to stop, in some cases, some of the red tape that really gets in the way of job development.
Okay, thank you. I think our caller's back. Good morning, caller.
Hello, yes.
Hello. Thanks for calling.
Hello, Jim Rawcliffe, yes.
Okay.
I've got a question for Cathy.
All
Good
right.
morning.
Good morning. There seem to be far too many levels of government. Now, when I lived in the UK back in the 80s, for an area that's the same as Chautauqua County, Windsor and Maidenhead, we had a population of 140,000, and no less than 32 were here. This is a very similar area, and we've got
Same
we've got
population?
little councils all over the place. And when we closed all that up, we saved thousands and thousands. Why doesn't Chautauqua become just one single council and get rid of all these?
You know,
I mean, here to have Fredonia and Pomfret as two separate councils.
And Westfield and Russell Village, yeah.
right,
Definitely.
there was legislation that was passed last year that allows for easier consolidation of local governments, and there's a public referendum so that people have a voice on that, and basically you have to get a petition signed. If enough people sign the petition, then you can have a public vote on it. So there are some things in place now that allow for easier consolidation. I push very hard legislation that will allow communities to share resources. I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, it shouldn't be against the law that one community can help the other with their public works equipment, for example. But
Yeah, well, they do during a fire. Everybody gets together,
right,
you know?
right, and that works.
Yeah.
The one part of that law, Reed, that I had a problem with is that it included fire departments for consolidation, and as you know, we have a very tough time finding volunteers. But the concept of consolidation is very, very good, shared services, and it's not just for local governments. It should be, you know, in our school districts too, and we've had several school votes go down during the past year, but we're looking at creative ways so that we can remove mandates from school districts. You know, New York State, of course, goes way beyond what the federal government mandates our schools to do, and it drives up local costs. You have to go through all these cost drivers and say, gee, do these make sense or not, and get rid of those, and that would help us enormously and help the taxpayers enormously.
Yeah,
which
well, they're
is
unfunded. Although often they start out being funded, they say, don't worry, we'll cover this, and then one day they say, we're through covering it, but you got to keep doing it.
exactly.
And it's killing us, you're
And
right.
it just doesn't make sense.
Caller.
So the caller had a great idea.
The problem is it needs to be just done. If we do it in series of little investigations, it'll take decades.
Yeah.
Whereas, as I say, in the UK, we decided Chautauqua County equivalent would become one council, and we saved so much money. There were better staff, we were able to sell buildings, we could do all sorts of things that save money immediately, not in 10